Blackhawks wrap up their 4-game homestand tonight against the Predators. I'll go over their projected lineup and whether we could see the Hawks trade for a second-line center.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Real quick, just a reminder to please go hit the like button, comment down below, and to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. Really closing in on my goal of reaching 2,000 subscribers, but I can't do it without all your help. So please make sure to go and hit that button for me, even if you're someone who regularly listens through an audio platform. It's 100% free, will not cost you anything, and really does help me out tremendously. I also got to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Go and download the Game Time app and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps once you create an account for $20 off to the sporting events, concerts, or theater events near you. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. Hope everyone's Friday has gotten off to a wonderful start. Quick reminder as well off the top that Mailbag Monday is right around the corner, so go and drop your Blackhawks-related questions down in the comment section of this video, or if you are listening through an audio platform, you can DM me on any one of my social media accounts, or you can even email LockedOnBlackhawks@gmail.com. But tonight, the Blackhawks wrap up their 4-game homestand with a matchup against the Nashville Predators at the United Center, 7:30 p.m. puck drop. And by the way, this is a game that is strictly televised on ESPN Plus/Hulu. So the Blackhawks broadcast frustrations, I'm sure, are going to continue with some Blackhawks fans here tonight. However, I'm sure there are more people who actually have ESPN Plus and Hulu that can watch this game as compared to DirecTV and DirecTV Stream, which now CHSN is trying to get YouTube TV customers to jump over with. For those who saw that post that CHSN made yesterday, you'll know what I'm talking about. Cannot believe that this is still going on and we're now 2 weeks into the start of the season. But Blackhawks have a big matchup here tonight, getting back to the game against the Nashville Predators. And it feels like one that is pretty important for the Blackhawks as they have a back-to-back here this weekend. They'll wrap things up at the UC tonight against the Predators and then kick things off on a 5-game road trip tomorrow against the Dallas Stars. And with the Hawks now being 2-4-1 through their opening 7 games, coming off of a pair of pretty disappointing losses on home ice to the Buffalo Sabres and the Vancouver Canucks, really think it would be big for the Hawks to avoid a 3rd consecutive loss here before heading out on the road. Is obviously, I just mentioned, they opened things up against a good Dallas Stars team. Colorado, that's been a building the Blackhawks have really struggled in these last few years. They're also going to have to play the Los Angeles Kings during that road trip as well. So some tough sledding coming up ahead for the Hawks. So that's why I think it would be real big for them to get back in the W column tonight. And they're also playing a Predators team that's really struggled out of the gates here this season, despite having, probably the most notable offseason of any NHL team with the moves that they made, getting Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea, giving UC Saros the huge extension on the back end. A lot of expectations for the Nashville Predators this year, and they certainly didn't get off to the best start. They lost their first 5 games of the season and gave up at least 3 goals in all of them. However, they did finally get their first win against the Boston Bruins on Tuesday night with a 4-0 shutout victory. So the Hawks definitely need to be wary of this team starting to build some momentum. We know they're more talented than what their record suggests so far early on in the season. And something also worth pointing out is the Blackhawks have really struggled against the Preds in recent years. In the last 25 matchups between these two teams dating back to the start of 2019, the Predators are 22-3 in those 25 contests. Only 2 regulation wins for the Blackhawks against Nashville in the last 25 meetings. Should also point out that under 5.5 has hit in 13 of those 25 games. I'll talk more about bets during segment 2 of today's episode. Make sure to stick around until that. But yeah, it's definitely going to take a strong effort from the Blackhawks tonight to win this game. Got to come out from the opening faceoff with more aggression and just a better effort. That's really what's plagued them in their last 2 losses, and that's what it's going to take. I think a full 60 tonight against the Predators team that just got their first taste of winning. They're going to want to look to build off of that here tonight. Hawks are going to have to shut them down for a full 60 to go and win this game and get some momentum back. Go 2-2 during this 4-game homestand and generate some good mojo before heading out to Dallas to kick off this 5-game road trip. As far as what we can see or expect to see out of the Blackhawks lineup tonight, per usual, I'm recording this prior to their morning skate. However, we did see forward lines in defensive pairings during yesterday's practice. Looks like there's not going to be much of a change in the top 6, which is a little bit of a disappointment to me considering how things have been going. Nick Foligno, Connor Bedard, and Teuvo Teravainen remaining as the top line. Personally, to me, I think it's time to get Taylor Hall up there. However, Luke Richardson has elected to roll with Taylor Hall, Philip Kurashev, and Tyler Bertuzzi as the second line once again, despite that line not having much production at even strength with one another. I've mentioned, I think they have some good puck movement, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting the finished product. And Tyler Bertuzzi doesn't have a 5-on-5 point so far this season. Philip Kurashev was questionably healthy scratch last time out against the Canucks, so hopefully he'll have some added motivation and will bring some productivity to the Blackhawks top 6 here tonight. Ilya Mikheyev, Jason Dickinson, and Ryan Donato going to remain as the third shutdown line for Luke Richardson, while Pat Maroon, Lukas Reichel, and Craig Smith round things out on the fourth line. Just do not understand Lukas Reichel playing center there. Lukas Reichel not getting an opportunity with more playmakers. And if you are going to put Lukas Reichel down on the fourth line, why not go with Athanasiou, Reichel, and Smith, the line that contributed for both of the Blackhawks goals against the Buffalo Sabres? A lot of head-scratching lineup decisions going on, but that isn't really anything new. That's kind of been the story of the last few games for me personally with the way the Blackhawks have gone about their lineup decisions. On the back end, Alex Vlasic and Seth Jones, looks like Richardson is loading up on that top pairing. Wyatt Kaiser and Connor Murphy look like they're going to be the second pairing. Not exactly sure whether it's going to be Nolan Allen or Isaac Phillips potentially making his season debut on the third pairing. They were rotating with one another during the defensive pairing rushes yesterday at practice. I personally would love to see Isaac Phillips. I know with Nolan Allen here, you want to be giving him opportunities, and Isaac Phillips is like an ideal 7th defenseman. I think it's time to give him a rep, though, and I wouldn't have even hated seeing him with Seth Jones on the top pairing like we saw the Blackhawks go with at practice on Wednesday. So I'm kind of hoping it's going to be Phillips making his season debut on that third pairing, with TJ Brody, and then Peter Mrazek is set to get the start in the front end of the back-to-back for the Blackhawks here tonight. Arvid Soderblom will be starting tomorrow in Dallas to kick off the 5-game road trip. Laurent Brossoit, even though he has been skating recently, isn't going to be ready to go as the Blackhawks hit the road tomorrow. However, the hope is that he'll be able to join the team sometime during the middle of the road trip, possibly 1 week from yesterday, Halloween night, October 31st, when the Blackhawks take on the San Jose Sharks. If not then just a couple of days later on Saturday afternoon, potentially when they take on the Los Angeles Kings. For Alec Martinez, sounds like he's kind of on the same timeline. We do know he is going to be taking part in the road trip. He's going to travel with the Blackhawks. Not exactly a set date at this point in time, but would be really nice to either get him back against Colorado next Tuesday or possibly Halloween night against the San Jose Sharks as well. All right, there is the Blackhawks projected lineup for tonight's matchup with the Nashville Predators. Going to take a quick break here, Blackhawks fans, but when I return, I'll get into my 3 keys to victory as well as the best bets for the Hawks tonight against the Preds. But first, real quick, I do got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. And to all my NFL fans out there, can now start the season with a big return over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, You can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you also happen to place your bets. And how about the Chicago Bears, baby? Big week coming up against the Washington Commanders. Not exactly sure if Jaden Daniels is or isn't going to play at this point in time. However, if you're liking the Bears' chances this weekend and you want to go and jump on the line early, make sure to go and check out FanDuel.com right now. And if you're not already signed up, be sure to create an account, and when you put $5 down, you'll get awarded with $200 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. And you can use those bonus bets to bet on anything from the point spread, money lines, over-unders, player props, touchdown scorers, and so much more. Again, that's FanDuel.com. Create an account if you're not already a member and put $5 down to get $200 worth of bonus bets guaranteed with America's number one sportsbook. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just wanted to say thank you again to everyone for making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen. Now for your second listen of the day, make sure to go and check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the action never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. And you can go and find the link to Locked On NHL down in the description of this video, or simply search on YouTube and wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Segment 2, per usual, time to get into my 3 keys to victory for the Blackhawks tonight against the Nashville Predators. Number 1 is to make the Nashville Predators play from behind the 8 ball. I've been talking about how the Blackhawks, through the early portion of the season, a goal of theirs is to not get behind the 8 ball. That will help this team in so many ways take that next step this season, whether it be, getting behind the 500 marker like they are right now. They're a little behind the 8 ball in terms of that, falling behind 2-0 in their last 2 games at home. They're falling behind the 8 ball early. That's proved costly. Let's flip the script tonight and make Nashville play from behind the 8 ball. That's something that they've been doing a lot so far here this season, but it basically comes down to the Blackhawks getting off to a better start. The shoddy starts have really shot them in the foot in each of their last 2 games and in 3 of their 4 regulation losses this year. It's been because they didn't have a good enough start out of the gate. So come ready to play, get that first goal, and make the Predators play behind the 8 ball tonight. Let's flip the script on the visitors here at the UC. Second key to victory for the Blackhawks tonight is to capitalize on a shaky start from the Predators' defense. I referenced earlier, their D has given up 3 or more goals in all 5 of their losses this year. They also rank 28th in the NHL in goals against. UC Saros, not confirmed to be the starter here tonight. It's either going to be him or Scott Wedgwood. If it is Saros, he's had the Blackhawks number over the years. However, his numbers are not very good here early on in the season. So for the Hawks, continue to fire a lot of pucks on net. Despite them losing some games here recently, they actually have been regularly outshooting their opponent and getting up to like the mid-30s. If they go and do that here tonight and stay on the aggressive offensively, I like their chances of coming away with a win, because the Predators have really started lackluster, have really had some lackluster defense from the start so far this season. Third key to victory for the Blackhawks is for the top 6 to wake up. We need production at 5-on-5 from the big guns. Connor Bedard, Nick Foligno, Teuvo Teravainen. Bedard has had a ton of scoring opportunities so far to kick off the season, but only has 1 goal to show for it. It's time to break the dam tonight. That top line needs to convert something at even strength. And same with the second line. Let's find a way to chip in. Bertuzzi, no even strength points this year. Kurashev only has 1 point on the season. Taylor Hall really feels like he's been the catalyst of that trio. If the top line can get a goal and the second line can get a goal for the Blackhawks tonight, I like their chances of getting back into the W column and picking up their 3rd win of the season before heading out to Dallas tomorrow night. As far as the best bet for tonight's matchup with the Predators, courtesy of the fine folks over at FanDuel, of course, looking at the lines as of the time of this recording, the Preds currently are the favorites, minus 172 on the money line. Blackhawks are plus 142 underdogs. The puck line for the Preds, minus 1.5 is plus 150. Plus 1.5 for the Hawks is minus 182. Over 5.5, minus 140. Under 5.5, plus 114. As I mentioned earlier, Nashville has taken 20 of the last 25 matchups between these two teams. So if you're someone who was thinking of taking the Preds here tonight, honestly, minus 172 is not a bad line whatsoever. Over-under really hasn't been a strong indicator over the last 25 matchups. Pretty much split right down the middle. 13 games have gone under 5.5. 12 games have gone over. So no real strong lean for me personally either way. However, what I will say is if you want to take the Hawks tonight, you should probably parlay that with the over because, again, as I mentioned, the Predators have given up 3+ goals in all 5 of their losses this year. So could be a potential nice little parlay there. Hawks money line and over 5.5 minus 140 and plus 142 would come out to a juicy number. As far as the goal scorers, what FanDuel has listed right now, Forsberg is the favorite at plus 130, Stamkos next at plus 170, Marchessault at plus 210, Bedard at plus 240, Teravainen at plus 240, Hall plus 280, Bertuzzi plus 290, Ryan O'Reilly, plus 300, and then Nick Foligno plus 300 as well. The bet I'm going to be rolling with here tonight, unfortunately, Connor Bedard did not light the lamp against the Canucks. Nick Foligno cashed his 2+ shots on goal as he's been doing basically every time I've been putting him as a leg of my parlay. So I'm going to roll with it again here tonight. Again, playing on the top line, the top power play unit. All I need is 2 shots on goal out of the captain. So I'm putting that as a parlay piece, as well as a Seth Jones point. That's plus 100. Foligno minus 188, 2 or more shots on goal. That comes out to a plus 181 parlay. And I kind of wanted to avoid the Hawks money line. Wanted to avoid the over-unders again because I didn't really have a strong lean on that one way or the other. I like the Jones point. I'm hoping the Blackhawks power play can convert for something tonight, and one that has been rolling well. Seth Jones has been a huge factor of that. And then I've already outlined my reasons for Nick Foligno. That's going to be part of the parlay until that leg starts being a little bit lackluster or FanDuel kind of catches on and starts throwing some lower odds there. But that's everything you need to know before tonight's puck drop at the United Center. One final break to take, Blackhawks fans, but when I return, I'll discuss whether the Hawks could reportedly be in the market for a young second-line center. But first, I got to talk to you all real quick about Game Time. Hockey season is officially back in full swing, and it's been so great to get back down to the United Center here in Chelsea Dagger, grabbing a cold beverage and enjoying the atmosphere at the Madhouse. And I'm sure many of you Blackhawks fans watching or listening to this right now are very stoked to get back down to the UC this season as well. And that's why I'm here to talk to you all about Game Time. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, which makes getting tickets to your favorite live events, not just hockey games, even easier. And I personally have used Game Time since I was in high school. It's always been the cheapest and easiest way for me to purchase all of my tickets, whether I'm going to see the Blackhawks, the Cubs, or any team in any city. Plus, I love how they provide views from all the seats in the venue so you know exactly what to expect before you make your purchase and before you arrive. Plus, they have last-minute tickets, flash deals, and zone deals that make it so easy to find and buy hockey tickets now that hockey season is about to take over. I highly recommend you all go and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps for $20 off your first purchase. Again, you can get $20 to go and see Connor Bedard at the UC this season. All you got to do, download Game Time, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed, Game Time. I also got to talk to you all real quick about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way for you to now play daily fantasy sports because all you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And one thing I also like about Prize Picks is it's the only real daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So be sure to go and download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Again, That's code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps with Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you put $5 down. Prize Picks, run your game. Segment 3. It has been reported over the last 24 hours or so that the Blackhawks could be looking for a second-line center, a young, mid-20s second-line center via the trade market here early on in the season already, which honestly shouldn't be the most surprising news given Frank Nazar wasn't able to make the team out of training camp like I had hoped, even though I knew that was going to kind of be far-fetched. Given Philip Kurashev's struggles down the middle on the second line, which, to be fair, I can't really blame on him. Philip Kurashev just isn't a center, and with Kurashev not working out really well there, the Blackhawks don't have another option really to be their second line center. It's a pretty clear gap in the Blackhawks lineup as of right now, and honestly, this definitely should have been something that they addressed in the offseason via free agency. I didn't love the Bertuzzi or Teravainen signings for each of their own reasons. I'm not going to, give my full judgment on that, even though, because they're just 7 games into the year. It definitely would have been wiser for the Blackhawks to go and get a center as opposed to the wing, especially when, you're only playing one of the big offseason additions that you got with Connor Bedard. Nick Foligno's still up on there on the top line. I would have liked to see the Blackhawks have addressed this in the offseason. However, I'm definitely interested to see what's going to come from this in the next couple of days or in the next week or so. I'm sure if the rumblings are going to become more serious, then we will hear reports about it in terms of who the Blackhawks could actually be pursuing. But yeah, I do think they're in a spot to go and give a young second line center an opportunity here. Because Oliver Moore, still a couple of years away. Frank Nazar, obviously, is probably going to be in Rockford for the majority of this season. And even with Frank making that leap next year, it's still going to be a couple of years before those guys are true, ready to rock and roll contributors for this Blackhawks offense. So I would certainly understand them, even though they do have some center depth in the prospect pool. I wouldn't mind to see them go out and take a chance on a guy like a Trevor Zegras, who's really struggled with Anaheim over these last couple of years and has been the center of trade talks. Dylan Cousins is someone in Buffalo who, if you go back to that year's draft class, I absolutely loved Dylan Cousins. So that would make me super, super happy. And quite honestly, even though the Blackhawks don't really have much on their roster right here, right now, to entice teams enough to give up a noteworthy prospect that could go fill that second line center gap here in Chicago, they do have tons of draft picks, 11 first and second round picks over the next 3 drafts already. These are exactly the situations why you stockpiled all of those draft picks for. And with, the 50-player roster limit that you need to have in terms of the amount of contracts that you can give out, it's probably time for Kyle Davidson in this front office to start thinking about trading some of those first and second round picks. So I think this makes a lot of sense for many different reasons for the Blackhawks. They need another contributor up on their second line. Philip Kurashev is not a center. We need more help for this offense inside of the top 6. And just with all the sheer number of assets, the Blackhawks can easily afford to swap one of those first or second round selections. They're not going to bat an eye. They're still going to be sitting pretty in the next couple of NHL drafts. So I'll definitely be sure to cover all of the latest news and updates regarding this Blackhawks potentially having interest in a second line center. I think it makes a lot of sense for multiple different reasons. That's going to wrap up today's episode, everyone. Thank you again for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks. As always, go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcasts, and go and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. That way, you can get the latest episode as soon as it becomes available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me on X at JackBushman2. Be sure to go and follow my strictly Blackhawks account, though, at Talkin' Hockey. That way, you can get all of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. And again, Mailbag Monday right around the corner. Drop those Blackhawks questions down in the comment section. You can DM me on any one of my social media accounts or even email LockedOnBlackhawks@gmail.com. So until the next episode, which will be coming out tomorrow, I'll be recapping this Blackhawks game against the Preds, while also previewing the opening game of their 5-game road trip against the Dallas Stars. Be on the lookout for that tomorrow morning. Until then, everyone have a great rest of your Friday night. I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.